Watch this.
The pushback over the removal of inclusive posters in classrooms took to the streets today. Dozens of West Ada students stepped outside and in front of the district office to let them know it's okay to say everyone is welcome here. The deal was done until it wasn't. The farmers have agreed on how to allocate water in southern Idaho, but lawmakers, they can't agree on how to pay for it.
Well, good afternoon. I assume most of you know why we're here.
Where we were 5 years ago was at the beginning of a new normal in Idaho. Life during a global COVID pandemic. We're taking a look back at how it started and how it's going. Well, everyone is welcome here has gone global. After Sarah Inama sat down with us to explain why she wasn't going to take down an inclusive poster from the wall of her 6th grade classroom at Lewis and Clark Middle School, despite being told to do so by the West Ada School District, the story kind of took on a life of its own. It's been shared and seen by people from all over the world. But today, the support for Sarah and her poster came back local. Students from Renaissance High School took the Everyone is Welcome Here cause directly to the district, who claims these signs violate policy requiring classroom content to be neutral and not a personal opinion. Well, today, Hunter Funk, you were out there at the protest to hear what the students in the same West Ada School District had to say about this, well, I guess, protest, or I guess this poster not being allowed in the classroom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the students left school just before 2 o'clock, so before school was dismissed, and they walked down the road and began protesting on the school district's main office lawn. Student body president and other organizers say after seeing the story online late last night, they decided they needed to speak for the teachers who can't.
Actually, a few of us, IB seniors at Renaissance, we were kind of talking in a group chat last night about, what has recently been going on in our district and how we feel it's so important for people to know that kindness is not a political message.
Do your job! Do your job! Do your job!
No way is it political. It's saying everyone is welcome. It's not saying only black people are welcome or only white people. It's saying everyone. It doesn't matter who you are.
How are we supposed to learn if we cannot even feel safe in our classrooms? Just because we are different does not mean we are not welcome.
The district isn't listening to us. They're only getting tighter on their restrictions, and they're only getting more likely to censor us. Being shown by that teacher that was censored based off a very harmless sign that was just saying everyone is welcome here.
West Ada School District's job is to put the interest of their students first, and they haven't been doing that recently, as seen with things like this. So we're asking the school district to do their job, and if there are rules or policies in place that are preventing teachers from being inclusive and welcoming in their classrooms, those rules and policies need to change.
Is detrimental. How am I supposed to go to school knowing that I might not be welcome into a classroom because of who I am?
At Renaissance and all over the West Ada School District, we know firsthand how much our teachers do for us and how much they work around the clock, work outside of their hours, and do everything they can to make sure we feel safe and supported at school. So to see a teacher getting in trouble for that and possibly risking their job is absolutely ridiculous when they're just trying to do what's best for their students.
Support our teachers! Support our teachers! Support our teachers!
I know a lot of teachers are feeling like they can't take a stand because, of course, the district could take action against them, against their jobs. So we just want our teachers to know that we stand with them and we're here to support them.
Support our teachers! Support our teachers! Support our teachers!
I really hope that they'll just see the perspective of the students that they're hurting through these policies. I feel like so many students came out today and shared their unique perspective, whether they're a child of immigrants, whether they're LGBTQIA+, whether they come from any other race or gender or ethnicity or creed, saying that they felt safe at school because of the actions of their teachers. And if their teachers are getting in trouble for those actions, they understand that future generations and other kids won't be able to feel the same safety and happiness they did. And it really just broke my heart.
And I hope they don't just ignore us, because looking in those windows, all I could see was administration not looking at us, no support, ignoring us, completely tuning us out. And I really hope that something got through to at least one of them to start making that change and to get them to stop making our lives harder.
Do your
And there were also some students from the Idaho Fine Arts Academy that also walked down the road to support. And there's a man who's been outside the district building for about 3 days now who says he was just a concerned citizen, wanting all the kids to feel welcome, and is supporting the middle school teacher who put the sign up.
And I can't tell you how many emails we've gotten into in the newsroom from teachers in the West Ada School District saying, I wish I could say something publicly and be as brave as Sarah was to do this, but they just don't feel like they can, but they strongly support what she is doing right now.
And people who drove past, same thing. I'm a teacher. I support this. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Constantly heard.
I was also down there at the district, Hunter, saw you down there. And the reason was because we have yet to get a response from the district who are willing to talk to us, or they're not willing to talk to us about this. We're right there about that same time of the walkout to see if anyone would answer these questions that we've had, that you've had about this whole predicament. I was told by the superintendent's assistant, that is, Dr. Derek Bubb was not available at that moment this afternoon, but he might be later today. But when I returned to the newsroom, I received an email from the district chief of staff who said and sent an email, we received your message following your visit to the district office this afternoon. Our response remains unchanged. Dr. Bubb, both Dr. Bubb and Mr. Myers, that'd be the chief academic officer, they respectfully declined to provide a comment or participate in an interview. So they're still not talking. And we are still waiting on a response from the Board of Trustees. They have yet to respond to our request for an interview either. But on a brighter note, the company making Everyone is Welcome Here t-shirts, Brigade Screen Printing, they sent us this picture this afternoon of their staff. Their staff, by the way, they are all West Ada moms, and they are proud to be making these t-shirts. An update, they've had about 1,800 of these t-shirts ordered so far, so that's good news. And Sarah Inama, the 6th grade teacher we've been talking about, refusing to remove her poster from her classroom, well, she sent us this picture of the bracelets her students made for her this week. She said her students told her she is doing the right thing by standing up for what she believes is right. Sarah calls them her inspiration, and it's because of them. She says she has no regrets, and no doubt she is doing the right thing. She also said the hardest part of this week was explaining to her students why anyone would question putting up a poster that says, everyone is welcome here. And while it's all been a bit overwhelming for Sarah, she said she's had nothing but support this week from all over. She's gotten hundreds of emails from as far away as Sweden. But the one that matters most to her, or those, I should say, many of them, she said are the ones that she has received from former students who told her they remember that poster in her classroom, and they remember how it made them feel welcome and safe in that classroom. Well, could a piece of paper be holding up implementation of a crucial water agreement across Idaho? Well, it appears that's the case. Senate Bill 1128 would deliver on Governor Brad Little's goal to invest millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, into water infrastructure projects across southern Idaho. The water mitigation agreement reached late last year secured a deal between the surface users and the groundwater users who've been at odds for years. Well, now the signed deal might be unworkable if lawmakers don't deliver a funding mechanism. Here's Joe Paris.
A successful water agreement between surface and groundwater users through eastern Idaho was a highlight across Idaho in 2024. It took months of hard work, tough conversations, and creativity to find a solution on how water should be used and preserved.
My Keeping Promises plan helps tackle the backlog of unfunded water projects.
Governor Little kicked off the 2025 legislative session with a call to action. Lawmakers needed to help water managers and agriculture operations successfully execute the new Idaho Water Agreement. Investments appear in the form of legislation, like Senate Bill 1128, a commitment to $30 million in ongoing investments for water infrastructure projects. The proposal sailed through the Senate, but is now treading water in the House Resource and Conservation Committee.
You know, if I'm being honest, it's a little bit frustrating.
We first introduced you to Blackfoot farmer Adam Young last summer. At the time, a water mitigation agreement was up in the air, and there were real concerns that surface water farmers like Young would have their water cut off. In the end, though, surface and groundwater camps compromised.
We did come to a deal that I think is a good deal. I think it's very workable, but it's going to require some pretty major investments in water infrastructure projects in our area and in the Twin Falls area.
Senate Bill 1128 accomplishes that. Ongoing money to supplement what farmers in water districts are already planning on spending major money on. All of this to ensure the water deal agreements are met.
And for reasons that I don't fully understand, that bill is being held in committee, although it's got broad support in the Senate, and my understanding is very broad support in the House.
You have to have that consistency and that certainty that is going to allow you to move forward with those projects. That's huge, and absolutely must happen.
Representative Ben Furman of Shelley, Idaho, has followed the issue closely.
I'm a financial planner. I work with markets. The worst thing you can do for a market is create uncertainty. And that's what we're doing right now for our farmers, is creating this uncertainty.
Furman is pushing for his constituents and really agriculture operations across eastern Idaho who need confidence that water projects will see state investment.
We have to bring the pressure and show the legislature, particularly right now in the House, that this ongoing funding is absolutely necessary, and there should be no excuse.
There are questions about why Senate Bill 1128 is being held. Representative Gerald Raymond of Manan, Idaho, sits on Resources and Conservations Committee in the House.
It is absolutely imperative that we get something moving this session.
Concerns from some appear to center on annual investments instead of a limited approach.
The major projects that we're looking at require long-term financing. It's much like the transportation issues we face in the state. There's always something to address.
This bill should have been bill number 1. This should have been the top priority for this legislature, and I don't know why it's not. But I do know that good people are working on it.
So what happens if lawmakers can't or don't deliver for whatever reason?
At the very least, it becomes much more difficult to carry out, if not impossible altogether.
We're working on it daily, hourly. It's not something that's going to go away in our minds. We're going to stay here until we get it done.
I think that in the end, I think good people will do the right thing and it will prevail. But we have to keep that pressure on. We have to let them know how important it is.
Those of us who are on the ground aren't really interested in the politics of this. We just want to move forward with what we need to do to be able to make things work. It's hard to understand why the legislature, after what we experienced last year, would be holding this up.
And you might have picking up the tone of optimism by some lawmakers that we spoke with for that story. And I've spoken with lawmakers that didn't appear in the story that say whether it's Senate Bill 1128 or a different version of it, they are working hard to figure this out. Brian, at the same time, though, we can say, trust us, we're the news media, trust us, we're lawmakers. For farmers that are across eastern Idaho that work so hard to get this deal done, you could hear the frustration. You saw the frustration from people like Adam Young. This is their livelihood. And some of the frustration that's been described to me by the agriculture community is there are things in agriculture and farming you cannot control. The weather, the water year. This is something that is a human element that can be controlled. Signing on a piece of paper, yes, that we're going to invest in this. Again, though, when the governor gives his proposal at the beginning of the year of the State of the State, that's his proposal. It's up to lawmakers to kind of carry out their own vision, too.
And as you said, it's kind of too bad that it's this late in the session they're dealing with it, but hopefully, I mean, they're still there, so they got some time to figure it out.
And something that Adam said, too, is, we're a week away from the target date for Sine Die.
Yeah.
I don't think we're a week away, so that might buy some time for issues like that.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
This is a fast evolving public health event, and the science and the epidemiology is an evolving issue.
Couldn't even get a handle on it back then because it was still evolving, still happening. That was Governor Brad Little standing in front of the media in his office to announce Idaho has officially entered its pandemic period. That was 5 years ago today. At the time, we had no idea, as you could tell, how much of an impact the novel coronavirus would have on our everyday lives. Remember wiping down your groceries? Remember working from home for those that still had a job? Remember empty shelves, first toilet paper, then horse dewormer? Remember those days? Well, 5 years ago, we were all living under a cloud of uncertainty. And at first, it seemed like we all now had a common enemy. And for about a minute, it wasn't each other. The world kept spinning, the seasons kept changing, and we had to change right along with them.
Well, good afternoon. I assume most of you know why we're here.
By that afternoon, we knew the gem state was due.
And just this afternoon, the department was notified by our Bureau of Laboratories that we have our first positive case of novel coronavirus in a female over the age of 50 in the southwestern part of the state.
At that point, there were more than 1,600 confirmed coronavirus cases across the country and 41 deaths. Governor Brad Little immediately declared a statewide emergency to slow the spread. But that wasn't enough. And 12 days later, Governor Little took Idaho to the next level.
Following the guidance of our public health experts, today I will be issuing a statewide stay-home order for all of Idaho. The statewide stay-home order is in effect immediately and will remain in effect for 21 days.
It would actually last 31 days, an illustration of how nothing was going to go as planned. That day, Governor Little would also call on non-essential businesses to close for the same amount of time. But essential might mean different things to different people. But what about places like pawn shops?
They were talking about that last night, and I'm not sure. I know hardware stores are open. So.
Right, because you need to fix stuff. Liquor stores you kind of touched on, and tobacco stores, what about them?
I don't know about tobacco stores.
Golf courses, are they essential?
The outdoor part, but the indoor part would not be, I think.
Somebody who is buying a house and is moving, are movers essential?
I don't know.
Okay. House cleaners?
I don't think so.
Okay. That conversation would end up being a microcosm of the pandemic in Idaho. We were going to have to figure it out as we go. It just so happened COVID blooming in Idaho coincided with spring, what's supposed to be a symbol of new beginnings. That first day of spring 2020, the city of Boise woke up in a new normal. A new beginning, for sure, of living with the coronavirus. By noon, on a Friday, the downtown hustle and bustle left to calm and, well, quiet. Fewer cars, but more than a few open parking spaces. And they seem to stay that way. The sidewalk seating, usually stocked with diners and drinkers, stacked and shunned for the foreseeable future. As for the sidewalks themselves, typically permeating with packs of people and the cascading cacophony of casual conversation, left mostly empty and eerily muted. The societal shock may be new, but it likely won't remain the normal, because spring is also the symbol of hope. So as we push outside our comfort zones and figure out new ways to connect, a newer version of our community, maybe this state of social distancing won't become personally devastating. A new beginning to reconsider who we are and what we value. And maybe rediscover a better version of ourselves. Maybe it will really mean something. Because it has to. We hope. Well, that new version of ourselves kind of, took a back seat after a while, didn't it? Statewide public health disaster emergency declaration did not end until April 15 of 2022, while nationally, the COVID pandemic officially lasted until the middle of May 2023. Other points of reference during Idaho's COVID period: remember empty football stadiums and basketball arenas, mask mandates in schools and in some cities like Boise, crisis standards of care in hospitals. Yeah, we did all that. But the hangover from COVID continues. Idaho legislature has made several efforts, since and even this session, to enact some sort of revenge on the virus and how we handled it. From trying to take away emergency declaration powers from the governor, to trying to take the same away from local health districts, to banning any sort of mask mandate, to threatening to charge Dr. Anthony Fauci with a crime. Nearly 5,800 Idahoans have died from the coronavirus since March 13, 2020. Couple of legislative notes for you. Governor Little has signed the new grocery tax bill, raising that tax credit from $120 to $155, and the whammy bill has passed the House, but it still has to go over to the Senate side. We'll see how far that advances there. Meanwhile, the state of Idaho now has a new primary method of execution. American flags on Cloverdale, the bridge over the freeway, well, they were vandalized. And a lawyer for the man accused of killing 4 U of I students says some evidence was planted on the scene. Here's Jude Binkley with the 411.
Governor Brad Little signed a new law making the firing squad the state's primary method of execution. The law won't go into effect until July of next year, which will give IDOC time to remodel a facility capable of a firing squad execution. The Idaho Press reports Idaho is one of only 5 states authorizing the use of a firing squad and could be the first to use it as the primary method. The American flags on the Cloverdale Bridge in Boise were found vandalized yesterday. Employees with the Idaho Transportation Department spent part of the afternoon removing the flags, and the agency will give them to the American Legion for a proper disposal. ITD says the flags are up with a permit to honor the lives of airmen killed in an accident on I-84 in 2018. Prosecutors in the case against Brian Kohberger say his defense team will argue that the knife sheath linked to Kohberger's DNA was planted. Kohberger is the man accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students in their off-campus home in November 2022. In a court filing, the Latah County prosecutor says a defense expert is planning to argue that the DNA-linked evidence doesn't prove Kohberger was ever at the Moscow home. Rather, the sheath could have been planted by the, quote, real perpetrator. The sheath found in the Moscow home was linked to Kohberger's DNA through investigative genetic genealogy. It's a technique the defense already attempted to have thrown out, but was denied. Kohberger's trial is scheduled to start in August. And that's the 411 on the 208. I'm Jude Binkley.
All right, hopefully you can bear with us here at the end of the show. We got a little technical difficulty with the big monitor here, so I'm just going to read some of these messages off my phone that were sent in today, like this one from B&B in Nampa, who says, what's sad about COVID is that so many Idahoans made it political. While people got sick and died, to this day, people can't deal with facts and rely on misinformation. Welcoming all from Jack and Boise seems to be the most neutral stance you can take. Shame on West Ada. Meanwhile, very sad that the West Ada leadership doesn't have the guts to address this issue in person, instead sending out a lame 2-page statement that sounded AI generated. Can't believe my tax dollars pay their salaries. Not sure where that was from. But Mrs. D in Twin Falls says, as a retired teacher, I'm so proud of the students standing up for those who can't stand up for themselves and for what is right. Power to the students. We'll see you tomorrow.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.